episode, we saw the HSBC Premier Personal Economy Summit kick off in Mumbai. An inspirational talk by Narayana Murthy and a candid conversation with Stuart Mill enthralled the audience. Welcome to the second episode of the HSBC Premier Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond, in partnership with ET Now. In the next session, we articulate on how love what you do and do what you love drives a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, and a true sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. S. Ramakrishnan, the head retail banking and wealth management of HSBC India, set the context for this theme.
So this session, by the way, is about love what you do and do what you love. You heard Mr. Narayana Murthy talk about it, and it was very clear that he loved what he did and eventually did what he loved. It was very clear. And I know the speakers that you're hearing after this, after me, are also going to be doing exactly the same thing. They are going to be inspiring you to do what you love and love what you do. The question then is, why am I here? Is banking my passion? And I'll be very honest, it's not my passion. It's a work I do, and I do it with a lot of passion. So I'm not denying that. I do it with a lot of passion. Did I, during my college days, dream about being a banker? No, I did not. But I'm surrounded by people who have lived their passion. We have people in this room, and I'm going to take a couple of examples much closer to my own personal life. My sister, she was a corporate techie. She was designing software systems for banks like ours. But she had a passion of teaching children. She also had a passion of trekking. So guess what happened one day? She went trekking to Ladakh, saw some schools there, and decided to shut all that she was doing as a job. And now she runs an organization called 17,000 Feet Foundation that does nothing but develops education in Ladakh. Now that's passion. The quickest way of leading a fulfilled, happy life is by following your heart, by doing what is your passion. And then look at me. I'm not following my passion. I'm doing a job. I'm not the only one in this room who's doing something which I enjoy doing, but I'm probably not following my own passion. So people live their passion in different ways. And I'm going to give you 2-3 examples, okay? An example that I gave was of my sister who dropped everything and went and did a full-fledged job around giving back to society. That's one way. That's living, definitely living your passion. The second option could be, I do my work, I continue doing my banking, but you know what? Every weekend I probably spend 2 or 3 hours giving back to society. Even that is living your passion. The third could be, I don't have the time, but you know what? I can contribute. I can donate. Maybe financially, I can donate anything. That's also living your passion. The point I want to make is, it's never too late to live your passion. Either you start living your passion today, or you start planning for it today. So however you choose to live your passion, you need to have a robust financial plan to support it. It requires time, it requires effort, it requires money. This is, I think, a no-brainer. Once you have your plan, work with an expert. If the expert is there, he gives you an unbiased view. He gives you a neutral view. He takes you beyond your comfort zone. He helps you look at something from outside, which you're not capable of doing because you're very emotional. And hence, the need to have an expert. I just want to end with the last slide, which is probably the most important thing as far as living your passions is concerned. It's never too late to pursue your passion, but simultaneously, it's never too early to plan for it. The way I look at this particular picture, the person on the right there, he can start planning to pursue his passion even today. And the person on the left can start planning for it right away as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ramki. Now, our next speaker not only loves movies, but also makes movies with a lot of love. His passion for his craft is well reflected in the unparalleled success of his movies, such as Rang De Basanti and Bhag Milkha Bhag. Please put your hands together for the very talented Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra.
I really don't know what my passion is, and I never knew it. But if you keep working hard, you're sure to find it, or just stumble upon it, or brush upon it, and then keep finding more things which you will get passionate about. Actually, I went to school and I went to another school, Bal Bharati Air Force, in my 9th standard. I love cricket. We had a great cricket team. And so I love cricket. I wanted to get into that. I got into the team. But it was a bloody good team. Half the time I was sitting on the bench. So I started swimming. And I said, okay, this is somewhere jahan meri thodi chalti hai. Finished school, got into a college. Because of my swimming, I got admission into a college called Sri Ram College of Commerce. There were enough campus recruitments there. I went to one interview after another. So I got myself a salesman job. This was door-to-door salesman, and we were selling vacuum cleaners. But they would not sell. So I kept wondering, what's the problem? Why aren't they selling? And we had a lovely pay scale system. Like your first 3 months' salary, you could keep adding the bonus points. And every time you sold a machine, you would get, the salary was just 434 rupees. But with every machine, you could accumulate $100. If you sold more than 5 machines, it became $200 per machine. If you sold more than 8 machines, it became $400. So the motivation to make more money was amazing. So I went to the railway hospital and sold them the idea of hygiene. And they picked up 28 machines. Opposite my house was Sadar tent house. So I went to Sadarji and I said, आप रोज शादियों में जाते हो, आपके कारपेट आते हैं, गंदे होते हैं, आप मशीन ले लो. वो कहते हैं, अच्छा इससे होता है इससे? मैंने कहा, बिल्कुल होता है, देखो. ये तो बड़ी अच्छी चीज़ है. दे दे मशीन, कितने की है? मैंने कहा, कुछ 3-1 हज़ार की है. अच्छा 4-5 दे दे. मैंने कहा, वेरी गुड. So I went to Malhotra tent house and told him कि Sadar tent house bought 9 machines. I added. मेरे को 10 दे. उनकी problem थी. I knew both of them, Malhotra uncle and Sadar uncle. My pay packet swelled up to 90 grands by the end of the 3rd month, which was a lot in 1983. And we were at past college. And my parents thought, what's going on? There's something really fishy going on. Is he selling drugs? He's making so much money. And they were very happy. The son has arrived. But something in me kept telling me to move on. I was having a drink one day with a friend of mine, and he said, I've got this client, and the Japanese are coming, and I've got this master client, and we're going to open an advertising agency. Why don't you join me? So I said, okay, let's do that. I joined the advertising agency, and the first job I was given was to record a radio jingle. So I came to Bombay, and I found this great team in Vinod Sharma, and who would do the jingles that time. Went back to the client, I was the hero. Started doing ad films, loads of them for any brand, even for some Japanese clients, for Toyota there, for MTV we brought them into India, had great fun. American Express and the cards came. All that happened. So my granny used to tell all of us, the cousins, a story every night. She was a great storyteller. It was called Ramayana, the great Indian mythology, where there was a Ram, there's Sita, and there's Ravana, and there's Ram and Ravana, good and evil, all that is going on. And while we were almost going to sleep, she would spoil it for us. She said, actually, there's no Ram and Ravana. They're both the same. They say, actually, they're inside you, good and evil. They're not outside. So my first film was Aks. It was about good and evil. And so the good guy kills the bad guy, and the bad guy's soul, the bad soul, enters the good guy, and he starts doing bad things. It didn't work. So I realized what's going on. I had learned the art during my advertising years. I sharpened my nails. But I didn't know storytelling. So for the next 5 years, I started reading books on screenplay writing. Understood all the tricks of screenplay writing and wrote Rang De Basanti. And Rang De Basanti kind of worked out. And I also realized doing a biopic on Milkha Singh that he stumbled upon running and he broke the world record. all he did was he kept working hard to find his passion. So anything and everything which came to me as passion was actually somewhere deep down in my life. So Rang De Basanti was from my college days. All those 5 guys are my best 5 friends. These are the talks we used to have. Bhag Milkha Bhag came from my swimming days because National Stadium, Milkha Singh used to practice there before us, but he was legendary, and every time my coach would slap me and say, you know what Milkha Singh would do? You ask him to do 1 lap, he would do 100 laps. And I said, who the hell is this Milkha Singh here? What's going on? You know, I only know jokes about him. So one day I went and met him, and his story was amazing. So we told it. I became the medium. I don't know tomorrow if I'll be making movies. I'm not sure. If I deserve them, I'll keep making them, keep telling stories. I love telling stories. So thank you very much for having me over.
Any audience questions?
So good evening. I think what an amazing storytelling that you just did about your life. So if you just did stuff along your way, and so are all of us in our lives, why are you there and why are we here?
I get what you're saying. The most important person in the office every morning when we open it at 8 a.m. and we have an early office is the lady who cleans if we have a very small office. She's the most important person for us. It's not she's there, I'm here, somebody is there. We have to respect that. She does her job and she does it so well. The day she is not there, the office breaks down. You don't feel like working. Your mood changes.
A huge round of applause then for Rakesh Prakash Mehra. It's time now for a short break, but when we come back, watch tennis champion Mahesh Bhupathi talk about his journey and struggles he faced along the way before he made it to the top. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
My groin was in bad shape, and all I could do was serve as hard as I possibly could, and if the ball came within my striking zone, I was just connecting.
Welcome back to the HSBC Premier Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond Season 2 in partnership with ET Now. Our next session reiterates the fact that passion is boundless and never retires. Tushar Pradhan, the Chief Investment Officer of HSBC Asset Management Company, set the context for this theme.
The personal economy bit is something which we are all very, very interested in terms of how do we make wealth for ourselves. At the same time, do we have to give up our passions? But my session here is about passion never retiring. People feel that they are doing a job, and they don't believe that they're doing anything more than that. And I think that is where the difference is. Because if you have a job, you will have to retire. But if you have a passion, you're never going to retire. What is it that my passion is? And actually, it's a very boring passion that I love to invest. And it's, I think, one of the few individuals across the world, I know there are a few of us all over the world, who invest for both their professional life as well as the fact that it is a passion with them. This is a very interesting statement that Albert Einstein has talked about. The most powerful force in the universe is not light or time or whatever, but it's compound interest, according to him. If you were to say that compound interest is not really very interesting, I will make it interesting for you. What is, at 15%, a sum of money like to be in 5 years' time? It's going to double in 5 years if I can compound an investment at 15%. And in 10 years, it'll become 4 times. Yeah, that's right. In 15 years, it's going to be 8 times. But I'm trying to tell you that everything takes time. It takes a lot of time to get somewhere. So while we talk about passion and we heard, the speakers, let me tell you, they worked extremely hard for long periods of time to get to where they can say, I'm a success. It does not happen overnight. If you never want to retire, embrace your passion. You will never have to retire. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker has served many zealous volleys in his career. Post-retirement, he continues to develop tennis facilities in India, and along with his company, that's Global Sport, he has played a very crucial and key role in developing and managing careers of many Indian athletes, including tennis star Sania Mirza. So please welcome Mahesh Bhupathi.
When they said you got to speak on passions, passion is pretty much driven, what I've done all my life. I quit playing full-time a few years ago, but obviously there is, a big void in my life. I hate not being at the Grand Slams because that's where the whole tennis world is, 4 times a year. I've played the junior level till I was 18. I went to college for a year and a half. The college system in America gives a stepping stone to a lot of professional athletes, and I use that to better my tennis. My dad took me to Wimbledon when I was 13. Clearly remember the day, like it was yesterday, when I ran into the gates when we stood in line for about 2.5 hours to buy the tickets that were resold, because that's all we could afford at about 6 p.m. in the evening. Cut to 5 years later, I was fortunate enough to get an entry into the junior event at Wimbledon. And I was never a very good junior. Actually, I was terrible. I was not even in the top 4 juniors in India. And I used my tennis, so my dad used my tennis to get me a scholarship in America. I went there, played, worked hard. I was never... It was never, studies was never a priority in my life, so it was very clear the day I got to college that I was never going to graduate. A few years later, when I came out of college, I started playing with Leander, and in 1999, when we had our big year, I remember we were number 1 in the world going into Wimbledon, and we had just won the French Open, which was our first Grand Slam. A few days later, we were playing the Wimbledon final, and we were playing on court number 1 because of rain and so on and so forth, and my groin was in bad shape, and all I could do was serve as hard as I possibly could, and if the ball came within my striking zone, I was just connecting. And because we were winning so many matches, I was connecting it well. And it was just a desire. It was the ambition to be able to, come so close to the most coveted trophy in sport when it comes to tennis. And with God's grace, we were able to win that match, and that was a pure sign of how ambition was able to just drive the pain that was we were going through during that fortnight. Tennis has obviously put me in a lot of different places. It's taught me so much. I mean, tennis is probably the most individual sport in the world. In golf, you got a caddy who's with you all the time. But in tennis, you're always on court on your own. When you're growing up, things are going wrong. There's only one person who can figure it out. It's you. If things are going right, I mean, there's mainly in juniors, you're traveling alone because you can't afford anything else. There's no one to celebrate if you win except with yourself. So it's a pretty lonely tour, but it teaches you a lot. I mean, it teaches you how to deal with challenges. It teaches you how to work out solutions when things are going wrong. In tennis, you always have to have a plan A, B, and C, because if you don't have a plan B and the opponent is beating you, then you're in big trouble, because there's nobody who's able to shout out or tell you during the match what you're doing wrong.
So let's get going on some questions. Any questions for Mahesh?
With your sports passion, how much you feel the role of finance?
Every sport, needs financial support. I mean, at every level. Sport in general is a very expensive proposition. If you want to do it right, if you want to compete with the rest of the world, I think the level of competition in general it just gets tougher and tougher every year. So if you're not able to compete with the West, be it in nutrition, be it in fitness, be it in recovery, be it in tennis, there's so many experts you need to avail of to become the best. So yeah, sponsorship and financial support is extremely important.
You mentioned about playing tennis with your dad when you were a kid, and then going to Wimbledon when you were 13, and finally taking a decision when you were in college that you'd probably not do graduation and go pro. So what was the stage when that decision got taken? Because that's obviously a brave decision. Did it really start right as because your father was there? Did it start as a kid where something was seen and, maybe that decision was taken? What was that point where you decided to, go whole hog in chasing your passion?
Yeah, so that decision was taken before I went to college, to be honest. The college was going to be a stepping stone for my tennis. I wasn't going there to pursue a degree. I was using the American system of, the scholarships to just get the competition, because where we lived in the Gulf, there was no one good enough to push me or practice with me. So the decision was taken before. And to be honest, in professional sport today, if you just go across names, not only tennis, but any sport over the last 7 to 10 years, you won't find a lot of athletes who have graduated from college.
We tend to hear, talk, discuss, and applaud success stories of passion. And my compliments to you, like all of us would like to be very proud of you. I want that message to be given by a successful individual to those many sincere and passionate people who did not succeed.
Yeah, I mean, see, dealing with failure is literally an everyday scenario in our case. From my perspective, I can tell you for a fact that once you have the base covered, and when I say base is, if you have passion and if you're pursuing something in life and if you put in all the hard hours to try and achieve that and you don't, I think you'll definitely achieve what you try next.
With that, we come to the end of the coverage of the HSBC Premier Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond Season 2, held in Mumbai. Stay tuned, as next week we take you to the second edition of the summit held in New Delhi. Goodbye for now. See you next week.
I've always believed that you need to surround yourself with outstanding people. I mean, if you have mediocrity around you, you can never deliver. I think it's important to differentiate yourself from the rest of the world. So whatever you are doing, try and position yourself, brand yourself, which is very different from anything else that you are doing.
You don't wear plaid shirts. You're too old for this campaign. It's meant for people like me, who are 21. And he looked at me and he said, "You're a cheeky little bugger. Okay, we'll give you a job, but you'll get paid as much as the peon does."